Hello, in this video we're going to discuss Go Soapbox, which is a tool that can be used for student engagement and response. It is web-based, so you can use it on any device as long as you go through a browser. It can be used for back channels, but it's a tool in which the teacher or the facilitator goes in and they can create an event and post quizzes, discussions, and polls in that particular event. Students can then join that event and participate in the different activities without having to create their own account. So to begin, the teacher will need to go to gosoapbox.com and sign in. They will need to create their own account and then sign in. Upon signing in, you would need to create an event. So we'll come up here and choose Create. We give the event a name and create it. This will be the code that you will need to give to the students or the participants to be able to join the event. But we're not quite ready for anybody to join the event yet. We'll proceed to the event. And notice that you have three different options for using this particular, in your particular default area. You can add more, however. So if you come to and you're signed into your account, you can actually come and edit some of your options for the event by choosing it and then choosing moderate this event. You can enable and disable some of the features. So by default, instant polling and social QA are not on, so you can choose to turn those on if you like. I will just for this demo purposes. By default, everything else is on. We can turn on math formatting if we like to. Now we're going to go back to the moderation panel, and again there's different information that you can do if you want to remove it, archive it, copy it, download any of the data that would have been that would have collected in the polls. But at this point we're going to go back to the event. So again, those are just some edits. Notice you now have the social QA area that we didn't have before. We had to moderate this event and change some of the settings. So let's begin by creating a quiz. We choose Create a Quiz and we give the quiz a name. Then we'll choose Create. Next, we want to add questions into our quiz. We just want to include the text of the question. We can include a description if we want, and then we choose if it's multiple choice or short answer. And then you can even give a description that they will receive after they submit the quiz, just like a feedback type thing. So here we have the question. We chose multiple choice. We've added in our answer choices. We've marked our correct answer, and then we've given some feedback that they'll see after they submit their response. So this is created. I see the question, and then again I can add another question. So you just continue doing this as you make your quiz. Just note that as you add your questions, the multiple choice will be graded, but the short answer will not. They'll see any feedback that you put there, but it will note that it's not graded. It won't mark a correct or incorrect answer. So now that we've created our quiz, let's go back to what they call the event. And again, we have this back channel quiz created. Now let's create a poll. So we'll just do create a poll. And again, this is a survey type question. In this case, you add the question, you add the answer choices that they'll be able to select, and then you decide if you want the information displayed in a pie graph or a bar graph, and then you decide if you want the results visible to students so that after they submit their poll, they'll be able to see what anyone who has answered up until that point has said. Then we can create that poll. Next, we can add a discussion. So we create a discussion, we give it a title, and we can give it a description if we need to, and then we decide if the replies are visible to the students or not. So in this case, this is going to be the question, and then this is going to be, I do want their results to be, once they submit a post, I want the other students or participants to be able to see it. Last, we have the social Q&A, which is really for kind of generic type questions, demographic type questions, those types of things. So in this case, we'll have them answer what school are you from as one of the first things they do as they enter the course. So notice that we have created things for all of these different pieces. This confused and online barometer is something that the participants will be able to choose if they're confused or if they're okay, they're following along great. So as you're teaching your session, be it what it may, they can mark confused, and so that if you have this pulled up on a projector, you're able to see, oh, at least one person's confused or 4 or 5 people are confused, and so maybe I need to slow down. Or you might say to everyone, hey, mark that you're good to go if you're ready to go, and then they could mark good to go and you would see it. Now, You don't see individually who's saying what. You just see, generally speaking, everyone's good to go, somebody's confused, that kind of thing. So again, this is something you use while you're doing your teaching session. You would want to pull up Go Soapbox as a back channel and use that as your confusion barometer. Also notice that all of our different pieces are locked at this point. So that means that if we were to go into the event right now as the student or participant, we would not see these boxes because they are locked. That gives the teacher the ability to turn them on when they're ready. So during the lesson, they might want only them to be able to see the social Q&A, which is open from Go, first. Then after they start doing some things, they might want to turn on the discussion. And then later in the session, they might want to turn on the poll. So again, this gives the teacher the ability to turn on and off so that it kind of goes with the flow of their lesson, so that the students aren't seeing everything at once and going ahead and completing them without getting prior instruction. So we'll go ahead and unlock some of these things just so that they are available for the session when it's time to go. Remember that for participants to access the back channel, you want to make sure to give them the access code. And an easy way to get to it is if you log in, you go ahead and pull this up on the projector and have it ready to go for the students in the class. You can actually scroll down and do moderate this event, and the access code will be right here for them to put in as they come into the classroom. Notice that if a student marks themselves as confused, you will see on the screen and of course on the projector that you're using as a back channel that someone is confused. You don't see who it is. You can't click on it to see who it is, but at least you know that. Also noticed here that it is the quiz is still locked, so people can't access it yet. Notice that this one is unlocked and the polls have been completed by one person, so I can actually click on those and I can see the vote and I can see that a response was recorded. If I wanted to clear it, I could clear it out, but you would see the polls there. We can see the same one for this one, so we can see the poll there. Notice that Insta Polling is something you can turn on. This is for in the case that maybe you just thought of a poll really quick in the middle of your teaching session. You thought, oh, let me ask you that. Rather than having to come and create a poll and type it all in, you could just go to Insta Polling. And so you would instantly click polling. You would choose how many number choices that you would like. So, 2, 3, what have you. So maybe I want 3 answer responses. And then the student on their app can go to Insta Polling as well, and they're able to have input in the poll A, B, C, or D and submit their vote. Then at that point, I'm able to come in and refresh my screen, and I'm able to see the results of the Insta polling. I can clear it out if I want to try to do maybe another poll at that point, just one that I verbally give to them. So again, that's the point of an Insta poll, is it just saves you from having to write out the question. You could just verbally ask it, especially something you want to do on the fly. Students still answer it, and you can still see the data in terms of a bar graph that way. So that's what Insta polling is. So next we can see somebody has posted in the discussion. So we can come in and see that Miss A, who is the person that joined our session, posted this. And you could add a reply if you want to, or other people could add a reply as well. If you choose, you can email this discussion data to yourself just so that you would get a list of all of the information that has been included in this discussion for later reference. Same thing with the social Q&A. Miss A posted that she works at St. Mary's. I unlock the quiz and I can actually come here and see the results of my quiz. I can come here and download the current response data after someone has taken the quiz, and it will open up in Excel for us. So here we can see that Miss A is the only participant in the course right now. How she answered the questions in the quiz, and this one was incorrect, and that's why it's red. This one was correct, that's why it was green, and this one was an essay response, so it isn't auto-graded, but I do get to see her response. So she made a 50 on the exam because she answered one correctly and one incorrectly. So that's where you can download the data, and as more students take the data, you can continue, or more students take the quiz, you can continue to download the data. Also, at any time, I can scroll down and see who's online, and I'm able to see who is currently in the event, and as of right now I can see that no one's there. So it seems that Miss A came in, did it, and then left, which is one way that you can use the back channel. You can have it to where maybe you leave this open for a while, students come in, do the activity, leave, and then you just get the results on the back end. Or it may be that you're all doing this live in a session while you're teaching a class and they're coming in, you have this projected on the board, they're coming in, you're locking and unlocking based upon what you want them to do, and they do it immediately, which is when the instant polling might come into effect. So then we can go to moderate this event. and actually choose to download some data from the polls that were created. So again, I can download my data from the quizzes in the quizzes area, but I can also download the poll data, and I can see the name of the person and then how they voted in the polls. This is the same thing with the social Q&A. You can still download that information from the polls as well. When you are complete, you can moderate this event. You can actually remove this soapbox event when it's completed, or you can archive it if you don't want to completely get rid of it. You just don't want it to be active anymore. You can also copy it. So if this is something that you're teaching several days in a row, you could copy it. Notice also that there are some beta versions. So if you are in your soapbox, you can go to moderate this event. And you can come down to beta functionality, and you can turn beta on or off. The most important thing, or the most beneficial thing, I would think, would be the threaded discussions. So now that I turned beta functionality on, let's go look at the discussion really quick so you can see what it looks like. Here in the discussions, you can come in and you can see before you couldn't reply directly to this person. You could just post new things. But here I could reply directly to this person to make it more of a threaded discussion, which probably makes the conversation a little bit easier to see, because if not, you don't know who is talking to. So you might want to turn on the beta functionality for that, at least under the moderate this event. This is what the student view looks like when they are in the Go Soapbox and using the confusion barometer. You see how they can choose I am getting it or I am confused, and that's what makes the little note at the top of the teacher view. Under the student view, this is also how they see the polling results. After they poll, they're able to see if you've allowed it. They can see the results of the poll. They can then choose go back to the event to continue back to the main page. This is also what it looks like when they post to a discussion, as well as when they view an instant poll where there isn't a poll that's been typed in. It's just the kind of teacher has done it impromptu. Finally, this is what the student view looks like after they submit a quiz in Go Soapbox, and it gives them that built-in feedback. Notice that the multiple choice answers are green or red based upon right or wrong, but the short answer does have a feedback, but it isn't automatically graded. And that's the basics of using Go Soapbox.